You didn't come here looking for motivation. You came here because something deeper is happening inside you. Maybe you've grown tired of proving yourself, tired of reacting to everything, tired of carrying expectations that were never yours to begin with. There comes a moment in life when you realize the problem isn't that you lack strength. It's that your strength has been scattered, given to opinions, to fear, to the endless need for reassurance. And the Stoics warned us about this long ago. The moment you let the outside world decide your worth, your direction, your peace, you begin to lose yourself. This video is not here to hype you up. It's here to bring you back. What you're about to hear are not affirmations to escape reality. They are affirmations to stand firmly inside it. Each one is designed to restore something essential: your dignity, your discipline, your inner order. Not by denying pain, but by meeting it without surrender. So listen slowly. Choose the lines that challenge you, not just the ones that comfort you. And if this kind of Stoic training speaks to you, subscribe to Stoic Journey. This channel exists to build inner strength, not trends. Take a breath. Let go of the noise. Let's begin. 1. I am capable of becoming who I'm meant to be. You didn't come here because life is easy. You came because something inside you has been getting tired, not of effort, but of constantly proving your worth, measuring yourself by results, replaying old doubts, trying to be enough for a world that keeps moving the line. When life gets loud, the inner voice grows quiet. You start reacting instead of choosing, chasing instead of building. And the real weight isn't what happens to you. It's the story your mind tells about it. The Stoics were clear about this. The moment your self-worth depends on what you can't control, your peace collapses. So this is a pause, not hype, not motivation, a return. These affirmations aren't magic words. They're training. A way to come back to what is actually yours, your mind, your character, your response. Marcus Aurelius wrote that you have power over your mind, not outside events. Today we practice that, calmly, honestly. Take one slow breath. You're not here to become perfect. You're here to come back to center. Let's begin. 2. My worth is not up for debate. At some point, many people quietly learn to treat their worth like a negotiation. They give a little more, explain a little longer, tolerate a little less respect, hoping that one day it will finally be enough. Enough approval, enough love, enough security. That pattern usually didn't start in adulthood. It was learned early, when praise felt conditional, when love arrived only after performance, when being easy to deal with felt safer than being honest. So you adapted. You became agreeable, useful, quiet. And slowly, without realizing it, you taught the world that your worth could be discussed, adjusted, or postponed. Recognizing this is healing, but staying there keeps you stuck. Stoicism draws a hard line here. Your worth is not something the world gets to vote on. It does not rise with applause or fall with rejection. It comes from one place only: your character, your commitment to live with dignity regardless of how others respond. The moment you seek permission to matter, you surrender control of your inner life, and the Stoics refused to live that way. They understood something uncomfortable but freeing. People may misunderstand you, undervalue you, or walk away, and none of that gets to define who you are. So here is the Stoic method. You stop proving yourself. You stop explaining your existence. You stop shrinking to make others comfortable. Begin setting silent boundaries, not with anger, not with speeches, but with behavior. You leave conversations where respect is missing. You stop over-giving where it is not reciprocated. You choose dignity over approval, even when it costs you connection. This is not arrogance. This is self-respect. Say it now, not as defiance, but as clarity. My worth is not up for debate. 3. I don't chase approval. I live by virtue. Many people spend years without realizing how much of their life is shaped by approval. Not loud approval, not applause, but the quiet kind, the nod, the acceptance, the relief of not being judged. So they adjust. They soften their opinions. They delay decisions. They silence instincts that feel inconvenient to others. And slowly, their life becomes a performance they no longer recognize as their own. This habit usually forms early, when belonging feels conditional, when love feels fragile, when standing out feels dangerous. So you learn to scan the room before you speak. You learn to ask, will this be accepted? Before asking, is this right? That awareness can be healing. It helps you see why you became careful, why you avoided conflict, why you learned to blend in. But here's the turning point. A life guided by approval is never stable, because approval is unstable. It shifts with moods, trends, and other people's insecurities. When your direction depends on being liked, you lose the one thing that gives life weight, an inner compass. The Stoics built their lives around something stronger than approval. They lived by virtue, not morality as performance, but character as alignment. They asked a different question, not, will they like this, but, is this in line with who I choose to be? And once that question was answered, the response of others became secondary. So the practice is internal and demanding. You stop explaining yourself to avoid discomfort. You stop adjusting your values to keep peace. You allow misunderstanding to exist without rushing to correct it. You let people feel disappointed if the cost of pleasing them is betraying yourself. This is not isolation. It is integrity. Say it clearly, without bitterness and without pride. I don't chase approval. I live by virtue. 4. I can face discomfort without abandoning myself. Most people don't fear pain itself. They fear what pain might say about them. That if something feels hard, awkward, or heavy, it must mean something is wrong. So they escape. They distract, they numb, they rush to make discomfort disappear, even if it means leaving themselves behind. This pattern is learned. Somewhere along the way, discomfort became a signal to stop instead of a signal to stay. Stay present. Stay honest. Stay with what is real. Recognizing this is healing. It explains why you avoid difficult conversations, why you postpone important decisions, why you reach for relief instead of growth. But the Stoics understood something different. Discomfort is not an enemy. It is information. It shows you where your character is being trained. Marcus Aurelius wrote that the impediment to action advances action. What stands in the way becomes the way. The discomfort you feel is not blocking your life, it is shaping it. So the practice is not to harden yourself or suppress emotion. It is to remain present without running, to feel tension without self-betrayal, to let discomfort exist without turning it into a verdict about your worth. You stay, you breathe, you choose the next right action, even while the body resists. This is how strength is built. Not by avoiding what is hard, but by refusing to abandon yourself when it is hard. You learn that you can sit with uncertainty and still move forward. You can feel fear and still act with integrity. You can be uncomfortable without being broken. Say it now, not as reassurance, but as training. I can face discomfort without abandoning myself. 5. I grow at my own pace with discipline and patience. There is a quiet pressure in modern life that rarely gets named. The pressure to be further ahead by now, to be clearer, more accomplished, more confident. You see other people moving faster, speaking louder, collecting milestones, and something inside you tightens. Not jealousy exactly, but a sense of falling behind. This pressure often comes from comparison, from measuring your internal process against someone else's visible outcome, from forgetting that what you see is a highlight, not a history. Recognizing this is healing. It explains why you rush, why you feel restless even when you were making progress, why stillness sometimes feels like failure. But the Stoics had no patience for false timelines. They understood that growth is not a race, it is a discipline. Marcus Aurelius reminded himself not to waste time debating what a good person is, but to be one. Not quickly, not publicly, but consistently, quietly, at the pace that reality allows. So the practice here is restraint. You stop forcing clarity before it arrives. You stop demanding certainty before you act. You focus on what can be done today, and you do it well. You build strength the way nature does, slowly, repeatedly, without apology. Discipline is not rushing. Patience is not waiting. Together, they mean staying committed without panic. They mean showing up again and again, even when progress feels invisible, even when no one is watching, even when doubt whispers that you should already be somewhere else. Say it now, not to calm yourself, but to steady yourself. I grow at my own pace, with discipline and patience. 6. I am allowed to ask for what I need. Many people learned early that needing something made them a burden, that asking too much led to distance, that staying quiet was safer than being honest. So they adapted. They minimized their needs. They said, "It's fine," when it wasn't. They carried discomfort alone and called it strength. This habit often looks like selflessness on the surface, but underneath it is fear. Fear of rejection, fear of conflict, fear of being seen as difficult. Recognizing this is healing. It explains why you overextend, why you feel unseen, why resentment slowly replaces connection. But the Stoics never confused silence with virtue. They believed in clarity, not suppression. Epictetus taught that freedom begins when you understand what is yours to claim and what is not. Your needs are not demands placed on the world. They are signals that guide you toward a life lived with balance and self-respect. So the practice here is honest expression without entitlement. You ask clearly and calmly, without apology and without force. You name what you need and allow others to respond as they will. If they can meet you, connection deepens. If they cannot, clarity replaces confusion. Asking does not weaken you. It reveals where you stand. It shows you who is willing to meet you in truth and who only prefers you when you are convenient. The Stoics understood this well. A life built on dignity requires the courage to speak, even when the answer may disappoint. Say it now, not as permission from others, but as permission from yourself. I am allowed to ask for what I need. 7. I am safe, even when life is uncertain. Most people are not chasing happiness, they are chasing safety. The feeling that nothing bad will happen, that no one will leave, that the ground beneath them will not shift. And when life inevitably breaks that illusion, they panic, they cling, they overthink, they try to control what cannot be held. This fear usually comes from experience, from loss, from betrayal, from moments when stability disappeared without warning. Recognizing this is healing. It explains why uncertainty feels threatening, why silence feels heavy, why the unknown makes your body tense before your mind even reacts. But here's the harder truth that Stoicism offers, and very few are ready to accept it. Safety was never meant to come from circumstances. A person who needs certainty to feel safe will never feel safe because life does not offer guarantees. And chasing them quietly keeps you anxious, reactive, and dependent. The Stoics developed a higher definition of safety. Safety is not the absence of risk. It is the presence of inner order. It is knowing that no matter what changes outside, you will not abandon your principles, your composure, or your ability to respond with dignity. That is a different kind of security, one that cannot be taken away. Here is the practice, and it is not comforting, but it is liberating. You stop demanding that life reassure you. You stop asking people to promise what they cannot promise. You accept uncertainty as the natural condition of being alive, and you build yourself strong enough to meet it standing. This is where the level changes. A mature person does not ask, "Will everything be okay?" They ask, "Who will I be, even if it isn't?" That question alone separates inner strength from dependence. Say it now, not as denial, but as grounded awareness. I am safe, even when life is uncertain. 8. I am valued, and I contribute from wholeness. There is a quiet pain that lives in people who feel invisible. Not unseen because they do nothing, but unseen because they do too much. They help before being asked. They give without limits. They carry weight so others can rest. And when appreciation doesn't come, they begin to wonder if they matter at all. This pattern often begins with a simple belief. My value comes from being useful, from fixing, supporting, holding things together. Recognizing this is healing. It explains why you overextend, why you feel depleted, why being needed feels safer than being known. But Stoicism draws a necessary distinction. Usefulness without dignity becomes self-erasure. Contribution that costs you your center is not virtue. It is imbalance. The Stoics measured value differently, not by how much you give, but by the quality of the character you bring into what you give. Here is the higher practice. You stop offering yourself from exhaustion. You stop proving your worth through sacrifice. You contribute from steadiness, not desperation, from choice, not fear. You learn that being valuable does not require constant output. Sometimes your presence, your clarity, your refusal to participate in chaos is already service. This is where maturity shows. A grounded person does not ask, "Do they see me?" They ask, "Am I acting in alignment?" When you give from wholeness, your help has weight. When you respect your limits, your contribution lasts. When you value yourself, others learn how to meet you, or they fall away. Say it now, not as reassurance, but as orientation. I am valued, and I contribute from wholeness. 9. I belong here, and I take up space with dignity. There is a form of loneliness that doesn't come from being alone. It comes from shrinking while surrounded, from being present but never fully seen, from learning early on that belonging feels safer when you stay small, agreeable, and easy to replace. This belief often forms in subtle ways. A comment that made you quieter, a room where your voice wasn't welcomed, a pattern of being included only when you were useful. Recognizing this is healing. It explains why you hesitate to speak, why you minimize your presence, why you apologize for existing instead of standing where you are. But Stoicism rejects the idea that belonging must be earned through erasure. Marcus Aurelius reminded himself that what brings no benefit to the hive brings none to the bee. You are not an accident in the room. You are part of the whole, and the whole is diminished when you disappear. Taking up space does not mean being loud. It does not mean dominating. It means allowing your presence to exist without apology. It means speaking when something matters. It means not stepping back just to make others comfortable. This is not entitlement. It is alignment. Here is the higher distinction. People who lack inner grounding ask, "Do I fit in?" People with inner order ask, "Am I standing in truth?" When you live from truth, belonging becomes a byproduct, not a pursuit. So you stop negotiating your right to exist. You stop asking permission to be here. You take your seat quietly, firmly, and without performance. Some will meet you there, some will not. That is not rejection. That is sorting. Say it now, not as defiance, but as rooted presence. I belong here, and I take up space with dignity. 10. I practice gratitude for what is and for what is forming. Gratitude is often misunderstood as optimism, as pretending things are better than they are, as smiling through difficulty. But that is not gratitude. That is avoidance. True gratitude begins only after illusion ends. A person who has lived long enough knows this. Some chapters close without apology. Some efforts are not rewarded. Some answers never arrive. Recognizing this is not bitterness. It is clarity. And clarity is the foundation of mature gratitude. The Stoics practiced gratitude without denial. They did not thank life for being easy. They respected life for being honest. Marcus Aurelius reminded himself not to dream of what he lacked, but to recognize what would be unbearable to lose, not as comfort, but as perspective. Here is the higher practice. You stop demanding that life meet your expectations before you respect it. You stop postponing gratitude until outcomes improve. You give thanks not because everything is good, but because you are still capable of meeting what is real with composure. This kind of gratitude does not soften you. It steadies you. It teaches you to stand inside uncertainty without resentment, to accept the present without surrendering your standards, to trust that what is forming, even slowly, even painfully, is shaping your character, not punishing it. At this level, gratitude is no longer a feeling. It is a stance. It says, I do not need life to be different in order to meet it with dignity. That stance frees energy. It returns attention. It ends the constant negotiation with reality. Say it now, not as hope, but as alignment. I practice gratitude for what is and for what is forming. You've just walked through 10 affirmations, but if you listened closely, you know this was never about words. It was about orientation, about choosing how you stand in your own life. Stoicism doesn't promise ease, it offers something better: clarity, self-respect, and the ability to remain steady when life refuses to be gentle. And that steadiness is built through repetition, through daily reminders of who you are choosing to be, especially when no one is watching. Here's the real work. Choose one affirmation from this video. Just one. Write it down. Carry it into your day. And when discomfort shows up, not if, but when, return to it. That is how discipline is formed. Quietly, consistently. If this video helped you regain your footing, share it with someone who needs grounding, not motivation. And if you're committed to building a mind that cannot be easily shaken, subscribe to Stoic Journey. This is not entertainment. This is training. Leave a comment with the affirmation that challenged you most. And remember, you don't need life to be easy to live it with dignity. Stand firm. Walk forward. We continue this journey together. This is not motivation. This is Stoic training.